Hey, welcome back to another tutorial in the C++ tutorial series. Today I'm going to show you and demonstrate how we can read data from a file. Now this particular tutorial is on ASCII files, which means plain text files. In another tutorial we're going to talk about reading and writing to binary files, which are like .exes and DLLs and stuff like that, JPEGs, raw computer code, zeros and ones. But right now we're just going to do reading and writing to ASCII files, which is like a text file. So we include the in-out stream. These, I say it a lot, but repetition wires things in your memory. In Python they would be like our imports, import, etc. So we have to import an out stream that lets us output data to the screen, stuff like that. Fstream for file string. Of course we use this every time. I went ahead and threw this extra function in there, and I'm going to show you what we'll do with it later, just to kind of, because these tutorials are for beginners, and I'm going to show you how we can call functions, jump around in our script when we need to do different things at different times. So of course you have your main function, and in Python we would define a function like this, so you can see the difference. In C++ we use int for initialize, and remember, we start a function, we end a function. We start an if command, that's confusing, but we end it, because see, we got a while command there too. We start an if command, we end an if command. We start a while command, we end a while command. We start an else, we end an else. And we always indent. In fact, I ran the code and it worked, but there should be an indentation there too. If you start an if, you indent. You start a while, you indent. And this right here was obsolete. I was experimenting around with it earlier, and we don't need that anymore. I'll show you this in action in a minute. Let's keep going over the code. Okay, so what we're using is called ifstream, which stands for in file stream. And then we set a variable, and that's just whatever we want to call the data that we're going to get from the file. In this example, we're going to call it my read file. Okay, so this is a lot like Python. We tell the interpreter input file stream, name the variable. Of course, we end it with a semicolon, and then we do the variable name dot open path to the file and end with semicolon as usual. Now we're going to set up a character string kind of variable. Now the terminology is, there's the people who programmed this had specific terms, but if you can understand how it works, then you understand how it works. Let's not quibble over terminology. But it's like a variable or a string, and we're telling it that it's characters, right? And then we set the amount there. So this right here, output, is basically going to be a variable. Okay, so then we say if, this basically means if the file exists, and while we're not at the end of the file, pull the data out of the file one line at a time and put it to the variable myReadFile, or put it is the variable myReadFile. That's the data out of the file, and then we're going to put it to the variable output that we created up here, remember. Okay, and these little things right here are indication what's going on. Notice we're taking the data from the variable that represents the data in the file, and we're plugging it into a new one. The arrows are pointing, showing it's coming from here, and it's going to here. And then we're going to output that onto the screen. This is basically the equivalent of print in Python. Otherwise, if the file is not open and doesn't exist, it's going to go down here to else and tell us file doesn't exist or there's an error opening it. and then we're going to end that because we started it. I really should line that up better. You want everything nice and neat and organized in all your code. As an example, you want, when you start something, you end it the same place. And then when we're done with that else command, we go ahead and close the file. In fact, I'm thinking we might want to move that up, because if the file doesn't exist, we can't close it. I mean, the script did run just fine. It just logically seems like it makes more sense to me to have this up here. Right, because if the file doesn't exist, or if the file exists and we do all this, once we're done with the while loop, we close the file. Okay, so let's look at this in action. Right now, let's see if okay, there's no file there right now, so let's run the script. And there we have it. File doesn't exist, or there was an error opening it. As it went, it saw the file wasn't there, it went down to else, and then it told us file doesn't exist, there was an error, or there was an error opening it, as you can see. Okay, now let's make the file. Go testing. Just created a file in the command prompt using the echo command, and then it printed out our information. Now it put everything together, but what we can do is, let's see, we can go output. Let's try that. Something. Oh, wait a minute. You know what I did? I did it in this file, but I didn't do it over here. Now we can also take the information out and, you know, like there, see it spaced them out. We can take the information out and do whatever we want with it. Like, you know, we could have more than one. We could have a loop in here that adds a number to the end of a variable and goes output 1, output 2, output 3, output 4, and it puts each thing on a different variable, each piece of data on a different variable. Or we could, you know, we could send it over one thing at a time to a client, whatever, you know. And the stuff might not seem useful right now, but once you go through about 10, 15 of these tutorials, you'll be able to put together a little program and you'll start to understand how all this is actually used. But that's pretty much it for the reading ASCII data from a file. For this tutorial, I will go ahead and leave the code up a second for you. So if you want to jot it down or whatever. That's pretty much the entire script on one line. So to review, we have to do our imports, and in C++ we call that include. Initialize our main function. The next function up there was just for fun. What we could do, we could go in here and tell it to call that function by doing this right here. Very similar to Python. You would just say next, and that'll
execute the function titled next, which means it'll go up here and it'll do what's in between those. Okay, then we set up the input file stream, give it a variable, take that variable and tell it that everything that comes out of this file is going to go to that variable. Now we set up a character string variable, whatever you want to call it, called output, and we say if the file's there and it exists, then while we're not at the end of the file, remember the file, my read file, take the data out of the file and plug it in a variable called output, and then print the output to the screen. And then right here we told it to put a space in between each thing so that it doesn't just glob them all together. And then when we're done, we close the file. And then otherwise, if the file's not there, we go to else, and then we can, do what we want from there. We can say the file doesn't exist, or there was an error opening it, or go to this function and do this. Perhaps we'll go to the next function and create the file. Did you get the gist? That's pretty much it for this tutorial. Oh, by the way, very important, I'm running Linux, and I have a brand new version of C++ now. Sometimes if you go get an example of a code that works, but you try it on your computer, it might not work because it might be old. Things change a little bit in time, and Windows versus Linux. I'm not on Windows, I'm on Linux, so if things are slightly vary among different versions and different operating systems. So if you want the code that I'm showing you to work, no questions asked, what you got to do is get yourself a copy of Linux, install it, update it. I'll show you the commands to install the software I'm using. Right here, go into your terminal, do sudo apt-get install anjuta, A-N-J-U-T-A. Install that, then do a apt-get, sudo apt-get install libtool bin with a dash in there. And this will install all the C++ libraries and everything you need to code, and this is your IDE editor. And this program right here that I'm showing you, that I'm running the code with and testing the code with, is your IDE editor. Now you might be wondering, one of the first things that I wondered when I first started programming is, this is all cool and everything, but I want to make an application that's like, a regular application, like a GUI. Let me open up DOSBox here. You got your box, you got your buttons, you got your window, you got your graphics. Yes, you can do that with C++, you can do it with Python. But that's something that you put together later on, because everything that we're looking at here right now is going to be implemented and integrated with your GUI, your graphical box with your buttons and everything. And basically you put it all together, and then later on you go in and you add the buttons and you assign the buttons to functions, and then you click a button and it runs a function. Like for example, you could say, see this button right here? Say you click that and then it runs this. That's the basic gist of it. But first you got to get all the other concepts and stuff down, and then later on you can go in and you basically just kind of like how you assign values to variables, you assign functions to buttons and stuff like that, and text boxes to variables, and you just kind of plug everything in together. But you got to get the basics down first. Well, actually the GUI stuff is more like the basics, but you got to get the main concepts in, and then you can just plug it all together. It's kind of like, yeah, it's pretty cool. But anyway, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Until next time, I'm Scott, and thank you for tuning in to another awesome C++ tutorial. In the next video, we're going to do, let's see, we read from a file this time, and then we're going to do a writing to a file, and then we're going to look at binary reading and writing. So please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, let me know if you have any comments or questions down below, and thanks for watching.